Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
and I'm Cowboy Tom. Yeehaw!
We are Team Binge. We are here to talk about Outer Range, Season 2, Episode 1. This is where the timey-wimey all started for us, Tom. So welcome back. This
So good to
was
be back.
a real rodeo ride, as they say. This episode is called One Night in Wabang. So that's a word that I know what it means.
I think it's Wabang. I think this is like the fictional town essentially where this takes place. Wabang, they say in Amelia County, Wyoming. But apparently the majority of the show is actually filmed in New Mexico. So I'm assuming those snowy mountains were CG.
Interesting. I'm pretty sure there's snowy mountains in New Mexico. But let's talk about this, Tom. Have you ever watched a show that was less advertised or less... Like, Amazon had to have put money into this show. It's not a cheap show. Josh Brolin is not a cheap man. He costs money. I don't feel like this splashed anywhere. They just, like, dropped all the episodes, got out. It's like... It would be as if three of the stars in this were all arrested for murder in real life, and Amazon was like, listen, we've got the show, we've got to release it contractually, but we don't want to bring up the fact that they're all murderers and that we paid them. Like, this show is so under the radar, which is why I'm super jazzed to be talking about it with you. But does it feel like they're burying this one for some reason?
Yeah, and I mean, we'll touch on it up top here that we are watching the show, what, a month or two after it has been released, so we're definitely a little bit late to the game. There's already been the unfortunate sad news that this has not been renewed, so we are not getting a third season. So the hope is we will get some sort of satisfactory conclusion with this, but I can't imagine it's going to be like a clean series wrap up, which is a bummer. Like the other show that we covered on this pod, The Rings of Power, I'm assuming that's where Amazon threw all their coin at and didn't leave any for some of these fun, off-the-wall sci-fi westerns.
That's silly because this show's so much better than that show. This show feels like this show, I don't know, participated in a presidential debate, did really poorly, and everyone's trying to get rid of it. That's what this show feels like.
Topical. Love it.
All right, let's dive into it. Here's what I want to do at the top, Tom. We had so much fun talking about season 1. If you haven't listened to us talk about season 1, I would do that before we dive into season 2 because we had a lot of fun. But I think there are some important things that I had to remember about this show that I feel kind of paint this first episode. They did do a recap, and it did help quite a bit.
I feel like that recap was so short. When me and my wife watched it, it was like a minute and a half for a full season. We went on YouTube and ended up watching, I think, close to a 20-minute recap video because it was needed. There's a lot going on here.
That's true. That's true. I think maybe because I'm smart, I only needed a short recap video.
That's right.
But here's what I want to talk about. We'll break this down super fast. Abbott family, which is Royal and his family, his boys, and Cece. And then we have the Tillerson family. They are neighbors. They both own ranches. All this kicked off because Perry Abbott accidentally killed Trevor Tillerson. Although accidentally, he punched him in the head like, I don't know, a dozen times.
It's a throw punch that got him.
That's true. That's true. They showed that. So Perry Abbott kills Trevor Tillerson. They have to hide the body. Royal hides it because he's found this hole in the West Pasture that's full of space oil, I guess.
Sure.
Is this spice? Is this from Arrakis? Is that what this is?
Wow. A Dune crossover. Appreciate you.
There you go. All right. So they're trying to cover up that murder. We have the youngest kid of the Abbotts, whose name is Amy, who might be Autumn, who at the end of season 1 is taken by her mom, Rebecca. If you followed all that, congratulations, you're a scholar. Sheriff Joy has been sent to the 1800s. Now, did she go through a cave and wind up in the 1800s? She didn't fall into the hole in the West Pasture, right?
No, she went to that weird guy's, I'm like assuming another ranch that had similar symbols and I think like cracks in the ground, so something was kind of opening up, but it wasn't the same place. But I think you're right. I think it was a cave. She definitely didn't have some sort of traumatic fall and then end up there.
Got it. So Wabang, for those of you that don't know, is Shoshone for space oil. That's where we get One Night in Wabang. I just put it together. The only storyline I care about out of all of these is Maria and Rhett, these two young kids. I just wanted to make it. So I guess they were running away together at the end of season 1, and those mangy bison got them. And so,
but I mean, he just won the rodeo trophy, belts, or I don't know what they get.
I think they're called Rodeo Hero Squad, just like Buster on Arrested Development. So they gave him a stuffed animal for sand racing. Anyways, and then I can't emphasize enough, there's a hole in the West Pasture, and the West Pasture's being kind of fought over between the Tillersons and the Abbotts. And then I'm a little bit fuzzy on this one, but Luke Tillerson, who I believe is the oldest Tillerson son, discovers black space goo at the end of the season, and that's what leads him on his crazy journey during this episode, which I have a lot of questions.
So I think season 1 ends with Wayne. I guess he was like kind of in a coma essentially, but he's the one that, as the father, says that Billy is going to take over like the ranch and essentially inherit everything. So I think Luke, in like a craze and trying to prove himself, is digging in the West Pasture, or not their West Pasture, but maybe close to their property lines of the Abbotts, and trying to dig up some gold. And he strikes it here, but I do appreciate the twist that it gives him and just makes him like Looney Tunes like the rest of his family.
Oh yeah, there's something. If you looked at the medical history of the Tillerson family, there's some questionable practices. I mean, they have a wall full of dead owls for now, but based on some weird flashbacks, I don't know how long that's going to last. Did I cover all the important stuff? I think that's all we need from season 1 in order to move into season 2, right? In order to throw ourselves into the space hole of season 2.
I mean, you said at the top that you need to watch season 1 before, starting this, but I would argue you covered everything.
Thank you.
There's nothing, no stone left unturned.
I covered it in black space goo, that's for sure. All right. Speaking of things covered in black space goo, we open with a calf being born and its mother not doing well. I'm assuming those were fruit roll-ups. I wasn't quite sure what was laying around the cow. But this leads to, did you know this was Royal and Cece? I know it's kind of a reveal later, but did you pick up that that's who this was going to be?
No, I had no idea. I feel like the mustache really took me out of it. It was just too perfect of a dark mustache that I didn't think Royal and Cece.
Well, go watch No Country for Old Men and you'll see Brolin and what he can do with a sweet mustache. Cece seems overly ready to murder a cow in this situation. Maybe it's the right call, I don't know, but her bloodlust was noticeable, we'll say.
Palpable.
Palpable, thank you. And
she does, you did miss it in the season 1 recap, but I'm pretty sure she murders a bear too, right?
Yes, she can't stop shooting animals or asking her husband Royal to shoot animals. Has she seen his guns in that shirt? He could just strangle that cow. I don't know.
He's packing.
We've gone down a hole too quickly about animals dying. Was it Lasso season 2 that we did that started with, unfortunately, the death of an animal? Is that
good callback? Yeah. I mean, what is up with the season 2? Like, apparently that's the thing you got to do to set the bar.
They learned that in show writing school. I think this guy is a Juilliard playwright, actually, the guy that writes this show. I can't remember his name, but he is like classically trained, and everyone knows Shakespeare started every act 2 with the death of an animal.
Yeah.
I
think it's worth
Macbeth,
pointing
it's
out
that monkey that they kill. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's worth pointing out. I think one of the things that might be different than the first season of this one is I do believe they changed showrunners, where this was like a Juilliard playwright that wrote the first season, I think essentially show ran it, whereas now I think they have it in more seasoned hands. So I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but it might be a little bit different.
I should have started this from the top. I really enjoyed this episode. Like for one that brought me back into the story, I thought they did a great job. So I don't know if changing showrunners did that. What I do appreciate is Josh Brolin narrating something that's happening in space and time. That's how they start the first season. That's how they start this one. He should take over for Attenborough for doing the like Planet Earth ones. It's just Josh Brolin being like, and then he shot the cow in the head because it was in pain. And that's
but it needs to be like more
life.
Spacey. He needs to be more spacey stuff. He needs to take over for Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh,
like
interesting.
Cosmos style.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As a guy that doesn't believe in space, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's fine. Okay, really bad at shooting animals. I don't know how he misses the cow the first time, but the cow matrix out of the way, and then we have a bullet hole form in the ground where black stuff seeps up. So what did this mean? Because this is clearly, what do we think the time difference is? Is this 30 years? There's some sort of time correlation between every time you go through the hole. It's like 33 or something like that, right? Am I wrong?
No, I think you might be getting that confused with Dark. I think that's what they did in that show, where you can go forward and backwards in time in 33 years.
Sure.
I don't know exactly. I mean, obviously, it's a younger Royal and Cece here. I don't know exactly how many years. We'll call it 30. I think that's clean enough. I wrote in the outline if this was like the Void's origin, but we know it's not, right? Because he traveled here as a kid. So I wonder if this, like, isn't the whole idea of like killing an animal like a bad omen? So him like shooting the ground, like, is this like the re-origin of the Void and like it coming back?
I don't consider killing an animal a bad omen, but I can see why some would. I would say this. I mean, you could argue the Void's origin was when he accidentally shot his dad in the 1800s. You know,
Yeah, bad omen.
bad omen. He's like, when he went to shoot that cow, he's like, this reminds me of when I shot my dad. And Cece was like, excuse me? And he's like, never mind. Look at this mustache and these guns. And she's like, all right, I forgive you. And then they move on. I don't know. Okay. We flash back to old Royal and old Cece, or present time Royal and Cece. I forget all this timey-wimey stuff. You gotta like correct the timeline. Anyways, and I believe this is where Royal has Autumn tied up in the bedroom, and he's like, Cece, I need to show you something. Autumn is Amy, and Cece's like, hey, cool, you've got a teenage girl tied up in our bedroom. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'm just going to leave. And understandably, Cece is distraught because her grandchild has been allegedly kidnapped. But do we not ask a few more questions if someone is tied up in our bedroom? Right? No? Yes? Tom, your thoughts?
I think you're right on. I feel like Cece's been thrown a lot in this episode, not only with I mean, she obviously had some runnings in with Autumn / Amy in the first season, so there's no love lost there. But certainly is confused about the loss of Amy and being like, I mean, I don't know if you can call it kidnapped if it's her actual own mom. But yeah, she's through the ringer here. She's trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Right. I cannot emphasize this enough. You come home, your spouse has someone tied up on the bed that seems to be struggling and injured. Ask them questions. That's Team Binge's official stance. We would like that to go out. Hashtag, I don't know, don't tie people up. Non-consent. Never mind. Let's move on. All right.
I do want to ask, though, I feel like when they were in the house and Royal's confronting Cece, there's like a dog in the background just laying down. Did I miss them having a dog in the first season? It seems like it's prominent in this first episode.
They had a dog in the first season, but then they kicked that soccer ball into its head. And so this is probably the new dog. Wait,
Okay.
Am I getting Lasso and this mixed up again?
Maybe.
I don't remember a dog, Tom. I know that they used to have a cow, and that cow's no longer with us.
True. Well, and 3 other cows, right? Did we ever solve the mystery of the missing 3 cows in the beginning of the first episode? We assumed they fell in a hole, but this could have been that cow.
They are still lost in the West pasture, that's for sure. Okay, here's what I think the advantage of this show. I don't remember what the release date of season 1 and season 2 is, but you do forget enough that Royal and Autumn kind of being frenemies as he's taking her to the hospital is now like acceptable, because I'm pretty sure we were in a gunfight at the end of season 1,
Yes,
and now it's like, hey, you might be Amy, I forgive you, I'm gonna take you to the hospital, and they're like discussing things. First off, Imogen Poots is an incredible actor. She's just doing a fantastic job. I mean, obviously Brolin is too, but what struck me is the like crazy but like not over the top silly way she's playing this. I don't know, I really enjoyed Imogen Poots in this.
Yeah, she's great, and I like the way she kind of responds here, where I mean, she was unconscious the whole time when Royal had that reveal at the end of the first season, and now that he's confronting her with it and saying, hey, you're Amy, she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you think just because I have a scar that I'm Amy? But then they do talk a little bit in the car about Amy, kind of the kid Amy, is going to have her 9th birthday coming up soon. And we know that Autumn kind of lost all of her memory before the age of 9. So
Right.
essentially, there's going to be some sort of catalyst event that might trigger this. And maybe it is Amy getting into the hole or who knows what.
Sure. Yes, they are tying that very nicely together with a bow. And so it did not bother me. As I thought about it more, I was like, these two were literally just shooting at each other. Now we're driving to the hospital. Like, what changed? I guess the only thing that changed is he's realizing she might be Amy. And so
Yes.
he is allowing her a little bit of grace because she might be his grandchild from the future.
Shooting her less. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The person that's not shot less is Billy, who's been left for dead with the old
Yes.
bullet in the neck. And I feel like the show was like, listen, Billy's a fan favorite. We've got a lot of songs that we need sung by someone, and Wayne can't do all the work, although he does
No.
most of it in this episode. We're bringing him back because I definitely thought Billy was dying in season 1. But
Couldn't agree more. And, but the question is, when he got shot in the neck, is he still going to have that angelic voice?
I think it gets better.
Oh,
I think
wow.
it's one of
Can
those
it?
things.
Can
Yes. You know how like Daredevil, because he gets toxic waste in his eyes, becomes a superhero? I think Billy getting shot in the throat, he's going to be the Celine Dion of Wang Bang. No, Wah Bang. Oops, never mind.
Bang.
That was unintentional.
We are a podcast for children if you're first joining us.
Let's move on. We are clean. All right. Rhett and Maria, the lovebirds of this generation, have just
Sam
been
and Diane.
a real Diane and Sam, just attacked by bison, buffalo, whatever it is, and they have crashed into a billboard that's really trying to shove something down our throats. I don't know what's happening here.
I wrote it down again because, of course, it's big letters on the screen, so I'm going to pause it and write it down.
There you go.
America tells you that the only things worth knowing are those which can be known. America is wrong.
This was like paid for by the Church of Southwest Wyoming or something. Like, I don't like who paid for this billboard and put that message up. Is this a Tillerson thing? Or is this who?
I don't know. I
put
feel like
this
it's just
up?
kind of like a showism to give us this weird, wild quote to just kind of like have you think about it a little bit more. I don't think it's necessarily like a super PAC or a vindictive neighbor putting a billboard up, but who knows? I don't know. Did they do 3 billboards in Missouri or whatever? Isn't that a movie?
Maybe Russia paid for this. You know, this is a
Ooh,
foreign
smart.
entity that
Before they got the computer hacking, they did billboard hacking.
That's true. That's true. And it's just signed Russia. We'll never know where it's from.
Made in China.
They did you think he was going to get this truck started, Tom? I was a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit concerned.
it's a Ford. It's a Ford, man. It's built Ford tough.
Like
that thing
a rock.
just barreled into it and no problem. Backed up, kept going.
What was crazy is when it kicked on, those bald eagles flew out from under the hood. That was insane.
Yeah.
And then they attacked the billboard so that it didn't say America is wrong. It said America is right. And then they went, caw. Anyways.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Speaking of being right, Cece is at the police station where there seems to be some stuff going on in Wabang.
It's chaos, which I appreciate. Where we had all these bison, just like it's not an isolated event. It's not like all of our characters at the end of season 1 had these big bison herd or whatever stampeding over everybody, and then nobody else knows about it. I like the idea of the show keeping like everybody in the town still involved. So like Matt as like the new, I guess, sheriff / deputy is kind of like having to deal with everybody like missing people or who knows what kind of property damage these bison did. It's pretty cool. I like it.
What's crazy is I feel like it was a big miss for the show that they didn't cut to a guy scratching his fingernails on the chalkboard in the police station to get everyone's attention, and they all look, and he's wearing a bison skin that's still bloody because he cut it off a bison that evening, and he turns and he's like, I'll kill them all for 5,000. And then he tells a story about how Bison killed his family. That's what I feel like the show is missing a little bit. But
Yeah, for sure.
sorry, I watched Jaws 10 years ago, and it's still on the brain.
Listen, I just watched The Edge, where they apparently killed a bear and then made like a bear outfit in a matter of minutes and wore those for the rest of the movie. So
Tom,
it can be done.
The Edge is an incredible movie. I'm glad you watched it. I love that movie. That movie's so awesome. Oh man, we're gonna kill the bear. Say it. What one man can do, another can do. Tom, this is how much I love The Edge. Don't get me started.
Oh, man.
I will tangent out of here. You know who's not on the edge? Matt, the deputy. You know why I know he's not on the edge? Because he promises to find a missing kid. You know what you never do? You never commit that hard. You gotta like hedge your bets a little bit. You gotta say something like, listen, we're gonna find Amy and we're not gonna rest till it happens. And then you're gonna go, who wants to go for coffee? And then you go do something else. I felt like this was really strong to promise this. You should definitely be like, listen, we're going to find your kid. Maybe.
Yeah,
Probably.
statistically, we probably won't, but
Right.
we're going to do our best.
In the next 48 hours, we're going to try, and then probably
case.
going to be on Unsolved Mysteries in like a year. So
Yeah.
I hope Bruce Willis plays me. This is Matt the Deputy speaking at this time.
I mean, there is a precedent in this family of looking after a family member for an extended period of time in Rebecca's case. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to give Amy the same amount of time.
Yeah, no, I had some questions about this, and we'll get to the Rebecca of it all. But what is important is the show letting us have this random lady say to Cece, oh, I saw Amy with Rebecca at the rodeo. I tried to say hi. And then Cece asks no questions and runs out. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part was in the beginning of this scene when Cece's walking in and there's like a couple of older ladies and one's like, she screamed, God is gone. She's a terrible person now. And I was like, oh, come on, show. Don't lay it on that thick.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. So Cece's now got a lead on the Amy case, and that case is Rebecca. And once again, we're putting a pin in that because I have lots of questions about where Rebecca's been and why Cece can quickly find her whereabouts, kind of. We cut to conversations with Autumn and Royal, and I found this disconcerting how quickly Royal called her Amy, and she refers to Cece as Grandma, and I don't know that she calls him Grandpa, but we've just accepted our roles very quickly in this. Is this... I guess what I didn't understand, is this the show definitively telling us that Amy and Autumn are the same person? Or is this the show, like, trying to put it out there like it's a Sam and Diane, they might, they won't. Well, that's not good because they might be grandfather and... Never mind.
No, I feel like it would be really weird if the show laid it on this heavy and like added all this sci-fi element, not for that season 1 twist to pay off. But I think they need to have Autumn not think she's Amy. And I think she kind of did in the beginning where she kind of questioned it, but I don't know if I heard this of her calling Cece Grandma or everything. I'm kind of hoping they stretch it out a little bit and she is still very skeptical until some other catalyst or event pushes her to believe that she actually is an older version of Amy.
But Royal called her Amy, right? So Royal is bought in. You're thinking Autumn is still not quite accepting it.
Yes, that's my take.
Okay. Even though she called Cece Gam Gam. She's like, Gam Gam. Does Gam Gam still make those chocolate chip cookies that I love so much? I think is what
And
she
that
said.
ice cream? That oatmeal ice cream?
And Royal's like, you're a grown woman. Stop talking like that. And then he left her in the hospital. No, this is as they're pulling up to the hospital. Something happened in the sky. And Tom, I don't know if the show is trying to tell us this, but there's a lot of strange things happening in Wabang. And the sky is one of them. Yeah.
Yes. It seems like essentially like the stars are moving so fast, like the time of day is moving very rapidly. It's kind of like what it looks like.
Satellites and chemtrails, Tom. That's all it is.
But the catalyst for this is Royal touching her wrist. And we already have precedent for this in season 1 where they shake hands kind of like while they're, I think, looking for Trevor's body or whatever it was.
They dab.
And when they did that, they shake hands and then a mountain disappears in the background. So something about them making physical contact causes the world to freak out.
Interesting. I did not catch that, Tom, so good for you. Do you think if they touch ankles, like a river forms? What do you think? Does the type of touch matter in terms of what landmass either appears or disappears? Will the sun blow up if they fist bump?
I feel like a poetic ending would be them like reconciling and then them hugging, and then the
Earth
hugging
blowing
does
up.
something. Yeah, it does something fancy. I don't know.
And everyone dies. But time's a flat circle, according to Matthew McConaughey. All right, I'm with
science.
you. Okay, I'm just going to hit this real quick. Brother Luke Tillerson is having visions and dancing, and it's as if Billy and Wayne got together and made a child. Brother Luke is acting that way. I really feel like this actor's agent was like, hey, you made him the wet blanket in season 1 and he didn't have a lot to do. Can we do something with him in season 2? And Brother Luke's I'm going to go get that daytime streaming Emmy. And he's really going for it. He has a bunch of visions, which I thought were cool because some of them are super weird. And I was like, this is going to be interesting. But I don't think of Brother Luke as being the strongest character in the show. So I was a little bit confused as to why we were spending so much crazy time with him.
I think, yeah, they're definitely going to explore him much more this season, it seems like, especially from this first episode. And like even later on when the owls start talking to him, like there's a lot of like self-deprecation and you're not good enough. Like, is this just Luke hearing his like inner thoughts? Like there's a lot going on here that we can potentially unpack. But I do appreciate him having these visions, assumingly because of his contact with the void space dust, whatever it is, but sees Billy alive.
Space oil, Tom. We talked
space
about
oil,
space oil. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Listen, we fought a whole war in the Middle East over it. Come on. Stick with us.
But yeah, seeing Billy alive, chatting with Amy/Autumn, it's cool. I like the idea of it. And this is, again, reminiscent to the first season where we had Royal like look at his watch or something and seemingly like lost like a couple hours. So this is maybe like Luke, his first contact with it is only giving him glimpses into like a handful of hours ahead of time, but maybe future state he'll know a lot more about the events to come.
Got it. So I made the mistake of watching past, not necessarily the credits, but they do kind of like a next on, and they do a bunch of like flash, and I get the visions that Billy saw, and that confused, so I don't want to go into any detail because I may just be talking about future episodes. I will say that there is an outfit choice that's eventually going to happen that I am super stoked about. All right, cat hotels. Tom, if there's one thing I know about you, it's cat hotels and prostitutes, I believe, are a subject that you feel strongly about. I thought this was a brilliant moment where Maria and Rhett, who are trying to make a new life, get, I don't know, maybe a half a mile out of town, it seems, based on where they see CC. Like, this escape is not going well. I understand there's a bison herd, but their resolve to really leave is not there. Anyways, they're at this cat hotel. This guy, when he goes, do you need an hour? And he looks Rhett up and down like Rhett's not going to need more than an hour, was just a brilliant acting choice. I think he even says, or less. That was just wonderful. I loved this moment so more. And I love that Bill Pullman is not too fancy to not return to this show. I know he's got all that Top Gun Maverick money, but I'm glad I'm glad Bob's in this show.
Yeah, it was good. And he starts like sneezing and everything because I guess he's got an allergy to cats. Is he on the run? Like, was he going to get arrested for the murder or no? Because Perry admitted to it, right? Because he just did the rodeo, he wins, and then Maria just decide to leave because Cece wanted like the family to stay together, and he's like, no, I need to make my own life. Is that how it ended?
I believe so. I don't think they were coming after him. I thought this was just Sheriff Joy putting some pressure on him prior to him riding at the rodeo and becoming Rodeo Hero Squad. So I think part of it is they both want out of Wabang, out of this one-horse town. but I don't, and there's probably some pressure too, but I didn't get the sense that there was like a warrant out for Rhett, and that's why he's trying to leave. Because once again, he's leaving very slowly. He's like, we made it to the Cat Hotel on the edge of town.
We're safe.
And we're safe, and we're going to eat chocolate bars and soda. I did find this whole thing kind of sweet between them, and I like both these actors, and they do a fun job of just being two crazy kids with broken arms and fast metabolisms that can eat Hershey bars for dinner. And those weren't diet sodas; those were full sugar
the real
sodas.
deal.
Yeah, the real deal, as you like to say. Tom's always like, when he comes over, he's like, "Hey, give me a real deal," which means I have to go find a regular Coke among all the fake sugar diet stuff in the house.
No, that diet crap.
He's like, don't bring that fake stuff near me. Anyways, Tom has diabetes and a drug problem. So here we go. Sorry, Tom.
It's okay. It's as good a time as any.
It's as good a time as any.
Just let it out there.
Incredible. All right. Cece shows up with a gun at a place we've never been before. And this gentleman's name, I believe, is Lewis. He's running a hot lady sweat lodge in his backyard. All I thought was that this guy is, I guess, living the dream, if you want to put it that way. This was almost like a clown car joke, the amount of women that run out of the sweat lodge.
It's like, the first one kind of comes out. He's like, oh, he's got somebody in there he's hanging out with. But then, like, 4 or 5 more ladies come out. But like Cece, and I know you want to get into this, but like Cece comes here specifically like asking for Rebecca. Like, I don't know what Lewis's relationship was with Rebecca. Like, was it a romantic thing? Were they friends, like lifelong friends or something like that? Like, who is Lewis? And like, I didn't get this whole sequence.
Listen, I don't want to reveal too much about myself, but I don't think there is a person alive that could resist the charms of Lewis. Did you see him come out of that sweat lodge without a shirt on?
He does have some charisma.
Yes, charisma. Tom, that is a great way to put it. That guy's got charisma oozing out of his bosoms. Like, just looked incredible. So I'm going to say it was romantic in one way, shape, or form. No, I've got a bunch of questions on the outline. Just like the whole thing in season 1 was no one knew where Rebecca was. Well, clearly Cece knew, and I guess Cece said something that caused Rebecca to leave. So Cece did not like Rebecca and clearly knew where she was for a time at least, although Lewis is like, I haven't seen her in a while. Tom, all
That's
of this is moot. Tell me about your sweat lodge. Tell me about your sweat lodge experience. I think you go at least once a week, peyote in a sweat lodge. Is that correct?
Yeah, at least twice a week, actually. Yeah, I'm trying to start a new regimen.
And you feel like that's hacked your brain? Is that why you keep making all these internet startups that you're constantly trying to get us to be angel investors in, I believe is the term you said?
Yes, angel investors. Yeah, I don't know if it's been working very well because I haven't made a whole lot of money off of it. Shot a lot of owls, though. Just don't know what to do with them.
I've given you so much money. This is I know this isn't the shareholders meeting for the angel investors, but I'm a little bit concerned that we haven't made any money. I mean, you said you came up with AOL and that you were going to give people 10,000 hours of free internet. And that's how you're going to make your money on those discs.
Well, it's American Otter Labs. It's not the other one. I invest specifically in otters and in the study of them. So that's on you.
My wife's going to kill me. She told me no more otter finances. Oh, no.
Not again.
Not again.
So you brought up the idea of like Rebecca knowing at least for a time. Cece knowing where Rebecca was for a time, which I like that idea. Like when she did first run away, nobody knew where she was but Cece for a little bit, and that could kind of come back up maybe as like some kind of confrontation with Royal. I just don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I'm sure we'll get plenty more, but I thought this was an interesting take on how to try to trace down Rebecca. Because Rebecca, and we'll get to it maybe here in a second, I think that's essentially the next scene where it cuts into Amy and Rebecca in the car, Rebecca is telling Amy that she's taking her somewhere special. So it's like she has a plan. She's taking her somewhere, and I imagine it's going to be interesting to the show and not just some random safe house in the middle of nowhere.
Sure. The Wabang safe house. Hey, there's no way that Amy, Autumn, and Rebecca are all the same person, right? I guess that doesn't work because Rebecca's name starts with an R, so it's impossible.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Three of them are the same
God,
person.
same letter.
And Rebecca.
This is a new actress, though.
It is?
Yeah, Rebecca's a new actress, which I was kind of bummed because the actress that played her for that one episode in the finale was, I don't remember her name, but she was like one of the leads in The Cabin in the Woods, that fun
Nicole
horror, Kidman. Not Nicole Kidman.
Angelina Jolie.
Got a horror comedy kind
Meryl
of deal.
Streep?
No.
Meryl Streep?
Sure. So I was kind of looking forward to her because I really love her as an actress. And I'm sure this lady doing Rebecca here is great, but yeah, we'll see.
You guys can write Tom if you have an issue with him saying that this actress is just kind of doing great. You can reach us with your complaints at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. I want to go on record and say everyone's doing a phenomenal job and that the Cat Hotel guy should win an Emmy. So many actors doing actor things, and it's great. And I love that Josh Brolin gets to get paid. You know? I love it. Also, someone pay Lewis because he's doing a fabulous job running that sweat lodge.
Yes.
All good points, Tom. I am interested to find out what the whole Rebecca and Cece, although I don't know that it's that crazy that a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, like, words were exchanged and one ran away. I think it's a little bit weird that Rebecca abandoned her child for what seems like a really long time. And am I misremembering this, but doesn't Amy draw Rebecca in, like, heaven? So weren't we to assume she was dead? Am I misremembering that from season 1?
No, I think she's just been gone for so long that like the idea is like she maybe thinks she has passed and won't see her again. But I can't remember the significance of the drawing because I remember there was a bunch that will probably come back up or it was fortuitous in that she drew the picture of them all holding hands and then a bunch of people in like yellow in the background. And we saw that in like that flash forward when Royal does jump through the hole at one point with Autumn and her seemingly cult wearing all yellow. So I don't know how that's going to come back into play.
That's fair. Tom, just remember we're a podcast for kids, so when you use words like fortuitous, and some of us kids don't know what that means, just be wary, okay? And I only mean that because the kids won't understand what you meant when you said that.
Sure.
All of us adults, obviously, fortuitously know what you meant by fortuitous. So I think I've said my piece on that. We can move on. Speaking of people that have something happening with their brain that is not how brains are supposed to function, why is Luke talking to owls? What was this weird voice? This was like when Batman gets that lotus flower sprayed in his face and starts... Is Luke going to become the Owl Man? What's happening here, Tom? Explain, please.
It was wild. First off, I'm just glad to be back to this owl wall because
I love it so much. We've been working on our own, Tom. We should tell people that we've been killing owls to create our own owl wall. If you're from PETA, please don't email us. It was a joke.
But yeah, it was weird. Like I kept trying to listen to the voice, but it's like modulated and it changes. It goes up and down. I was thinking it might be another character, maybe someone we'll meet in the future. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it actually is the actor of Luke doing the voice in some sort of modulation. But like I said earlier, like I don't know if this is his brain, if this is some sort of sci-fi kind of thing talking to him, but it is trying to kind of paint him as like, hey, you're the loser of this family, your disappointment in what he's done now, and finding this black stuff and space, whatever, is going to get him back in with the family. I don't know what to think of it.
This felt a little bit like a showism, as we like to say, where it's like, hey, why is Luke important? Well, Luke feels bad because the dad loves the other brothers more than him, but he's now discovered this black stuff that I guess maybe he ingested, or like maybe that's why he's tripping, because rather than just getting it on his hands like Royal would after he throws the shovel into the hole. But I feel like Luke, maybe I snorted a couple of lines of this, and this is why he's having a little bit more of a psychedelic reaction. And this is also the moment where our favorite character, Wayne Tillerson, shows up. He's awake, Luke's like, I thought you were, I guess, in a coma. Did I misremember someone suffocating him with a pillow? Did I make that up in my head?
That was Luke.
Okay, so Luke did try to kill him, or quit on the attempt, or did kill him?
No, Billy pulled him off while he was trying to do it. It's like Billy
Okay.
kind of came and saved the day. Billy kind of talked Luke down essentially a little bit. And I think that's where Luke went, like, I've got to do something. I've got to, I don't know, make up for it, whatever it is. But this like 1-2 punch of Wayne being back, all in black, dope hat, just looking great. And then saying, oh, by the way, your brother's been shot. He's in the hospital. He'll be fine. Like, man, this family is just bulletproof. This is great.
They are wonderful. I don't care about the Abbotts. I don't care if they all go to jail for murder. I just want to follow the Tillersons around. The Tillersons is a traveling karaoke band going from wah-bang to wah-bang, just singing the hits. A lot of stuff's happening in the hospital. Autumn, very quickly, they have this like scene where the doctor's touching Autumn and she seems to be broken in every place. And then we talk to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, you have an earache. Here's some ibuprofen. We'll see you in 4 to 6 weeks. Go live your life.
The way it was shot, I think, because some of these injuries are probably obviously from the Bison and their soiree at the end, but I think like some of her injuries are still like, I think she mentions a concussion, are when Royal attacked her at some point, right? Like, didn't he like push her over or threaten her and that kind of stuff? So it's almost like when Royal's in the room with her and the doctor, he's trying to like, is she going to throw me out of the bus? Is she going to say that I did this and then kind of get him arrested? Like, he almost has like a sigh of relief when she kind of lets this go, I guess.
Yeah, no, it is kind of sad. It's almost like a domestic abuse thing. It's like, hey, doc, let's get him out of the room and ask her some poignant questions, because she is clearly... But that's also, my question is, like, is Autumn believing it? Because she has the opportunity to be like, oh, yeah, and you've got a guy with a bullet hole in his neck in a couple rooms over. That dude right there, Royal, who's staring at us, old grandpappy, my grandpa, he shot him. So, doctor, do something about that.
Well, and we know she's just had loads of like visions, and like she went off the rails in the last couple episodes of the last season, and it's like seemingly going to create a cult, I guess, in the future. So we never really found out, I think, the extent of what she's seeing in these visions and what she knows. So maybe some of that is still kind of coming into play, which is why she wouldn't be, I don't know, like giving Royal up, I guess, at this point.
Sure. Tom, I just want to tell you right now, and this is a reveal to everyone listening, and this will be a surprise to Tom. I have already sent in my membership fee to join Autumn's cult. It is
your Yellow Jacket.
It is a otter-centric cult, and so obviously I'm giving back to otters again, and this is why
your wife's so mad.
Oh no, I'm realizing it.
Did it again.
I'm realizing why she hates. Why does she hate otters so much?
They're so cute.
Ugh, golly. Anyways. Royal leaves a very long voice message, as old people do. Tom, do your parents ever call you and leave minute-and-a-half voicemails? Mine do.
No, my parents are great. They text me like normal human beings.
Okay. Well, I have different types of parents, and I can look at my phone. When I hit that ignore button, and then like the voicemail thing doesn't come up for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, you're like, oh no, I don't feel like I have the bandwidth. And then you look at your phone and it's like a minute 30 because the iPhone was nice enough to cut them off at a minute 30. And then they call back and they leave a second one. That's another minute and a half. And when I say that, I really mean just one of my parents. The other one doesn't call me at all. He does not care to talk to me.
Well, I do appreciate that they say, leaves a long voicemail as like an old person, but then as he's trying to leave the voicemail, it says that her voicemail box is full, which I feel like is another old personism where they never clear their inbox.
Nope.
That's great.
Yep. All of these happen to me in real life almost on a daily basis.
But it is good to see Royal using the payphone again, and the idea of payphones still existing in the town, because we did establish in the first season that he does not have a phone, which I appreciate, because
that's right.
Getting a character, taking a phone away from a character in like modern day society is more fun. Like how he can be disconnected and people can't track him it kind of makes the story a little bit more interesting.
Otherwise, it's like, where's Royal? And then you go find my phone. You go on that
Yeah.
app, and you're like, Royal's in 1883. What's going on here? There is a moment in the hospital as one set of patients is being discharged and another is entering to visit their brother who's been shot in the neck. Autumn and Luke make eyes at each other. Now, I'm a little bit confused, Tom. Obviously, Maria and Rhett, the greatest love story ever told, right? We can put that on a pedestal. That's where it's going. Autumn and Billy, deep in love, right? There's a moment with them in season 1, several moments where I think they're kissing rather aggressively. In
At
fact,
the bank, yeah.
kind of gross. But now we have Luke making eyeballs at Autumn. And I don't know if this was romantic, but we had a couple of visions where they were talking. And so, is this going to be, as you and I like to say, a little bit Sam and Diane
A little
between
love triangle.
Maria, Rhett, Royal, no.
Oh, wow.
Maria, Rhett, Autumn, Luke, Billy, a pentagram, I think. As we
A love pentagram.
a love
Goodness.
pentagram. Is that right?
Isn't
An
that against the
upside down
Bible?
one? Is this? They're not going to let me back in church.
I don't know if Luke's. I don't think it's romantic. I feel like he saw her in the vision and he is just like confused, or I can't remember what his relationship was with Autumn, if at all, in the first season.
But Tom, you have been on record as saying you did peyote, you went into a sweat lodge, you saw a vision of your wife, and then you met her, and that is how it came to be. So you don't feel like this is a similar storyline?
No, because I mean, it was peyote. He had this black space dust, so it's a different.
Very
trip.
different. That's true.
Different
Good
trip.
point. Good point. I like it. We already talked about the vending machine dinner, but Tom, I think it is important for you and I to talk about this. You have a vending machine. You're at a hotel. I'm going to give you $3. And this is,
This
you
economy.
know, because of the current administration, inflation, you're probably not going to get a lot. Let's go back a couple administrations when
Okay.
we were still a country. I'm going to give you $3, maybe $4, depending on how well you do here. You go to a vending machine. What are you buying?
I mean, you gotta get a drink, you gotta get a chip, and you gotta get a dessert. So I
Interesting.
feel like
Okay.
for a drink, I'm gonna get
A diet?
no, not a diet.
Yeah,
You kidding me?
must be
I'll,
nice to
I'll
have
do
your
a Dew.
metabolism.
I'll do a Mountain Dew,
Oh,
the real
wow.
Mountain Dew, not this
400
diet crap.
grams of sugar.
I would do a chip. If I had to pick a chip, I think I would just do maybe a classic, like a Cool Ranch Dorito would probably
Okay.
be my go-to chip in a
Okay.
vending machine. And then as like a little sweet, I'm not going to Hershey bar. I feel like Hershey bar is just put in there for the sake of marketing. Nobody actually buys the Hershey bar.
Oh, wow.
It's the most boring. Like unless it's going on a s'more. Like no.
I went camping recently and had 3 people besmirch the chocolate quality of Hershey's, and honestly, I'm about to put my foot down because Hershey bars are just fine. Like people
That's
are
exactly.
pooping on
You just
them,
said
and
it.
I don't
You
like
just
it.
said it. They're just fine. They're not bad. They're just fine. If I'm going to candy bar, I'm going to go probably a Snickers. I want to get some of those
Interesting.
peanuts. Get some protein in me.
Okay, interesting.
What do you got? What's on your?
I'm gonna go to the vending machine. I'm gonna get a 6-inch Subway turkey footlong. I'm gonna get probably a 2-liter bottle of Diet Mountain Dew, obviously, and then probably like chili fries. That's what I would go and get from the vending machine.
The vending
That's-
machine or
would be my
like
things.
drive-through? I think we're confusing.
No, vending machine, Tom. This is common. Look it up. You'll be Diet Mountain Dew, although no vending machine has that. So I'm gonna get a Surge. I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a Starburst, a whole tube of them. I'm only gonna eat the good ones, which means I'm just hucking yellow ones at bison as they walk by, and then probably those like mini donuts, Hostess mini donuts.
Ooh, yeah,
I'm gonna get
yeah.
one of those, the coconut ones with the
Ew,
yeah.
gross.
Okay, well,
Coconut ones? Ugh, consistency is
Hostess
terrible.
Coconut and Hershey's, you guys come to me for sponsorship. Tom can have garbage Mountain Dew, regular Mountain Dew. I love Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh wait, sorry,
Mountain
I
Dew.
forgot to. I did have a Mountain Dew over the weekend. Didn't send you my points. I apologize. I know
Oh,
you're trying
yeah.
to save up for that Mountain Dew UTV.
Yeah. Those of you that drink Mountain Dew, please send me your codes on the box. I'm actively working towards getting a Mountain Dew jet ski.
That'd
You
be
can
so
send
awesome
those-
if you get flooded with codes.
Tom, based on our viewership, I'm probably going to get 0. You can send those codes to teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Just a picture, thank you.
Also, if you are viewing this podcast, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, you are. Tom, let's finish this. Let's finish this out. We've gone off the rails. All right. We cut to Joy's, and I guess it's a first episode, and she's kind of off in the middle of nowhere, so they don't spend a ton of time with her. But we do have, they're brought back, hey, Sheriff Joy is missing. We have her wife getting called, Matt, the deputy, asking if she's heard from her. And this leads us to Joy, who is in, I think we established the 1800s, right? At some point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this was a harrowing scene. She is taking pictures of the Indian tribe, and they do not like that. So all of a sudden, someone is shooting arrows at her very poorly. And all I could think of as this, two Indian tribes kind of converge on her and kind of attack her is I was just like, hey, show these people from the 1800s the power of a semi-automatic pistol. And just start cranking off rounds, Sheriff
Does she
Joy.
have her? Does she have her gun?
Oh,
She
she's
does,
got her
okay.
gun. I stared at it
Okay.
the whole time, and I was just like, hey, use it. It's better than a bow and arrow. She makes a guy go to sleep. He attacks her. She wrestles him, and she says, shh, go to sleep. And he goes to sleep. And then she speaks Shoshone, and I'm assuming the people understand her, and this seems to be, I guess, part of her tribe and heritage. I thought this was very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of her being able to go back, with her ancestry or the people that were in this Wabang, Wyoming area. I'm just so excited to see what happens with the storyline. I forgot how much I loved Joy in the first season and just want more of her.
Right, because we got to see her in the action scene in the convenience store. That robber, she beats him up. My assumption is that she's going to teach these people how to make semi-automatic weapons, and the history of America changes pretty totally and completely. But I guess we'll see. I wrote in the outline Perry. Perry is birthed, so this is our first Perry sighting. I think he is coming out of the black space oil. This is cut with Wayne singing to Billy in the hospital. It was awesome. It runs in the family.
And what is he singing? He's singing Home Sweet Home from Motley Crue, which is great. Great rendition.
I did not spend a lot of time with Motley Crue growing up, so the subtitles told me what it was, and I was like, thank you, subtitles. Let me know when he sings some Christian rock music, because that's all I recognize.
Can you take me higher?
That's Creed, Tom. That's close. It's adjacent, but not quite. Great
sorry.
song, by the way. I'm more of a Photograph guy. Wait, that's Nickelback. Never mind. All right. Offense is being fixed, which
It's not going to mend itself, Julian.
my wife made a very funny joke where she's like, hey, when you see ranches on TV shows, it just seems like all they do is fix fences. She's like, that's the only thing. I thought it was very funny, and obviously will bring me back to Will Ferrell as George W. Bush being like, hey, got me mending my fence here. The last great president we had. Anyways, CC, thanks for letting that one go.
I'm just, you got that.
We'll move on.
Bush
CC and Royal are getting they have an argument about getting the family back and how important that is, and he feels this is the time to show her his old birth photograph and birth ledger, and that he's from 1878. And I feel like this wins any spousal argument, right? If you're in the middle of a fight and you're like, listen, I'm not from this time. I feel like this is something us husbands should all kind of pocket and use. We should go get one of those old-timey photos when we visit Tombstone and then just be like, listen, I know you're mad at me about the teenage girl I had tied up in the bedroom, but I'm not from this time. I'm from the 1800s.
Well,
and that's how our trial starts.
The way he prefaces this, it's like, when we first met, you told me like I need to believe in God, I need to like have faith and like be this part of have that faith to be a part of your life. And he's like essentially saying you need to do the same with me right now and like have faith in me. I'm telling you the truth or whatever it is. But the idea of him showing like an old timey photograph and like he calls it a birth ledger, a birth certificate, like none of that is proof. Like it might be proof to you, but that means nothing. Like this, it's a picture of you as a kid is not going to like look exactly like you or like the scribble on this like old piece of paper. Like it's not proof. It's not.
Well, you're such a doubter, Tom. How great would it have been if the camera like zoomed in on it and it was clearly just Josh Brolin at like one of those, he put his face through the wood cutout and it makes him look like he's an old cowboy, and then it's got the weird black and white photo, and she's like, you took this at Fort Cody in Nebraska. I was with you. And he's like, no, I'm from the 1800s. Also, ignore the teenagers that I've tied up in the house.
I'm just hoping at some point they're going to look back at this photograph and people are going to slowly start disappearing a la Back to the Future.
There you go.
It's the only reason to have this.
This episode ends with Perry meeting young hunky Royal and young hunky Cecilia, and him being like, what's your names? And they're like, I'm Royal and this is Cece. And he's like, he doesn't use his real name. He's like, I'm
Ben Youngers or something?
He's like, I'm Pajeri. And they're like, I'm sorry, Pajeri? And he's like, yeah, there's a J after the P. He's like, it's like Perry, but with a J in the middle. And they're like, that's a weird name. Where are you from? And he's like, I've got to go. And they're like, go to the Tillerson Ranch. But this was... This show's going to get... Is this show going to get super timey-wimey? I kind of thought Young Royal and Cow Killer Cecilia were only going to be in this one. But with Perry in their timeline, it makes me think we're going to spend some time with those young Abbots.
And this is where stuff starts to get a bit wild, right? If you really think about the concept of time travel and how this all works, like if Perry really did go back and meet a younger version of Royal, does Royal in our current timeline, old Royal, like remember this? Does he remember Perry? Is Perry going to spend a significant amount of time with them? Or is Perry going to be with a younger version of Wayne? Because he ends by getting pointed in the direction of the Tillerson Ranch. So maybe like Wayne and Perry are going to have more of a storyline, I guess. But even then, you would imagine old Wayne would have known Perry back here in this timeline. It's weird, and I'm interested to see how this plays out.
Listen, by Back to the Future rules, Cecilia and Perry are going to fall in love, and it's going to get weird, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Listen, that movie, unassailable, but made a lot of sense. So...
Yep.
I gotta be honest, I don't feel like this show gets the credit that is due. It's actually quite interesting and well done, and I'm sad it's not going to go to season 3. I don't know that I need a season 3. I hope they wrap it up in 2 seasons. There's a lot of dark matter on this show. Like, instead of a box, we just have a hole in the ground, which is another show that Tom and I talked about recently. But I'm glad to be back. I love Josh Brolin. I feel like everyone in the show does a great job. And unless it just like turns into a weird CGI mess in the middle when they ran out of budget, I'm excited to spend some time with this show.
I mean, the only saving grace is that because it's not a popular show and like widely advertised, I feel like nothing's been spoiled for me, even though the show's been out for a significant amount of time. So, I mean, I feel like we at least got that going for us. I want to say the general consensus is this season hasn't been as fun or good as the first season. But, I mean, again, like our fondness of this season, it could be terrible, but as long as it's wild and entertaining, like I think we'll still have a fun time potting on it.
Listen, if this turns into Wayne and Billy go on the road as a singing duet and we just follow them, I would love the show. I have no issue with it. So, for those of you that have returned for this season, welcome back. We appreciate you. If you have questions or comments, you can reach out to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. We do answer our own emails. We're not that important. Tom will talk about the other things. Oh, if you enjoy the show, please rate and review us at Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever it is you listen to us on. It is helpful. Tom, what did I forget?
Yeah, follow us on the socials on Instagram or Twitter at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. Again, we're watching this series a little bit slower, regardless of our name, Team Binge. We are watching this one, maybe two at a time, so bear with us. If you have kind of thoughts on the first episode, definitely let us know, but be mindful of the spoilers because we want to be able to enjoy the ride and give you guys some fun little content as we go. Again, if this is your first time you're joining us or you're joining us from our Season 1 coverage, we've done a whole host of shows. Julian mentioned the Dark Matter from Apple TV Plus we just did. We've done a lot of fun Apple shows like Ted Lasso and The After Party. So go check out our back catalog and see if you have some other shows that you'd like to catch up on.
Sure. Tom, as we close this episode, I would like to talk about the media that you are consuming outside of Outer Range. The outer range, so to speak. The East Pasture.
Okay.
Is there something you would like to recommend or that you've been enjoying outside of this show that you can talk to?
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it, I think, on the pod before, and I haven't finished it, but the newest season of The Bear, Season 3, has been very, very fun and very entertaining. Like the first couple episodes are just completely out there, a bit wild. They get back into, like, the family dynamics and just, like, the interesting nature and tone of the language and the family and how they just yell at each other. And it's not like a poetically written show. It's just gritty and done so well. I'm very, very much enjoying it. So Season 3 of The Bear, I would definitely recommend. If you've watched the other two, definitely pick it up and keep going. How
Wonderful.
about you, my man?
And that's on Hulu, right?
Yes, on the Hulus.
I would like to also recommend a Hulu show, and I can't recommend it highly enough unless you're someone who, I don't know, hates swearing and terrible things. And honestly, I probably shouldn't watch the show, but I have been invested and really enjoying Shoresy, which I cannot express enough the joy it brings, but I do understand it's going to be a select number of people that enjoy it. But it is the guy that created Letterkenny. He is he's from Canada, like backwoods Canada, and created a show about minor league hockey. And it is incredible. It's very funny. And it's kind of got some Lasso in it in terms of the heart that comes with sports, which I enjoy, but it's very Canadian. So
How many is it? Is it a single season? Like what, half-hour episodes?
right now they have 3 seasons out, and I think that is all they're going to do. And it's only 6 episodes a season, and they're all about a half an hour. And so it is
my
just,
kind of show.
yeah. In terms of binging, it is a show to binge. And if you get the humor and enjoy it, it's well worth your time. So that's what I've been watching. If your mother, I've just been playing the Bible book game and not watching any television. So for Team Binge, we'll be back for the rest of this season. I have been Julian.
I've been Cowboy Tom. Till next time, everybody.